Say welcome again if you're just coming in to Somos Fun Club. I'm so happy that you all are here. Today we are going to talk about planning your year. Now, this is specifically for the Somos curriculum. If you aren't using the Somos curriculum, this may not be as relevant to you because this is very specific to the curriculum. Um, that being said, you are more than welcome to be here. Take a moment, please, and open up the documents that you see in the chat. Hopefully, it's going to work. I don't know about you, but as lots of people are coming in, very cool. I'm very happy to say that all of my computer has stopped working. So that's fun. Everything's frozen. So while we're waiting, I'm going to unlock the chat. And I want to just invite you all to tell me what is the prettiest thing, pretty or most interesting thing that you've seen? Go ahead and type that in the chat while I wait for my computer to reload a couple things, because this is teaching on Zoom, right? What is the prettiest thing? Ooh, David's been at a lake. Very nice. All right. Excellent. The link isn't working. I can tell. I'm so sorry. I don't know why it's not working. Thank you for letting me know, because it's not working for me either. How about that? All right. Let's try this. Of course, I just want you all to know it worked perfectly this morning when I tested it. All right, see if that works. And oh, yay, I see a bunch of you are on it. So let's go ahead and get started. Once again, if your camera's on, give me a Somos Fun Club. We are so happy that you are here, and sorry for the Zoom. Hi, Patty. Thank you. I saw that. All right. So our norms for this conversation are try on some new ideas, see how they fit, see how they feel, see, you don't have to keep them, but you're here probably because you use the Somos curriculum and you want to know more about it. So I'm here to give you some ideas on how you can make it work for you. I invite you to be kind to everyone. That includes me. And for this, I'm actually going to go ahead and shut off the chat so that we're not distracted, because I get very distracted by the chat. And I know a lot of other people do too. I invite you to be present. If it's possible to have your cameras on, that would be great, because nobody likes presenting to a blank room. But if you can't, I understand. Engage positively. You don't have to like what I say. You don't have to agree with what I say. Refrain from blame and shame, because we're all learners here. And the one thing I'm really going to invite you to do is use the teacher talk to ask questions on the topic of the session. So if you ask questions that are not on topic, I'm going to pretend like I didn't see them, because we only have 45 minutes. All right. The topic of the session is planning your year. What I hope you will be able to do at the end of this is to cultivate your understanding of the core mindsets in Somos and identify the resources available to help you plan your year. Now, I want to be really clear that this informal time today is not an opportunity for anyone from our amazing tiny little company to be your personal consultant. I'm here to facilitate your learning. All right. So I may not be able to answer all your questions, because consultants come in and they ask you a billion questions and then they tell you what to do. I'm not going to do that. I think that you are the expert. Okay. You are the expert. I'm here to provide you with some information and some understanding, hopefully. And this is why. Our purpose today is to address some of the most common questions and concerns for teachers new to the Somos family of curricula so that teachers feel more confident and know what resources are available. And I can't read the bottom of it because I can't see, to help you plan. So with that, let's get started. First of all, it's really important that everyone understands that Somos is acquisition focused. That means implicit learning through comprehended exposure. That is different than explicit learning about the language. Instead of teaching students how to conjugate, we are going to communicate with students. All right? Our second really important thing to know is that we believe that all students are capable. Every student who walks into our classroom is capable of acquiring another language, and they can do it without having to study or memorize. All students are capable. It isn't, language acquisition is not something that's only reserved for the good kids. And the third thing that you should know about the Somos curriculum is that explicit grammar instruction is not included. It is not included. And there's a reason. Because we are going for implicit learning through comprehended exposure. Now, if you're really curious and you want to know more about that, I have a few resources for you. In order to keep learning about acquisition, and I'm going to put this in the chat, these links, we've got some micro courses. They're very short, succinct, lower cost courses on specifically on acquisition, proficiency, what should we expect students to do. We have some virtual acquisition boot camps, one specifically for Somos. We have a year-long training library subscription, which gives you access to all of the professional learning that we do that is virtual. And we are doing a free summer shift on the topic of acquisition. We also have some in-person events coming up in Kansas City, Missouri. And of course, we are always happy to work with you to bring a facilitator to your school. So, if we truly believe that all students are capable of acquisition, like every single one, then we need to make instructional choices that make that true. When we look at the Somos curriculum, before we talk about instructional choices, what do we teach? We want to talk about our mindsets. And our first mindset that I want you to really think about is this: connection over curriculum. Show me with your body if you're capable. Connection over curriculum. I don't know about you, but I didn't teach curriculum, I taught humans. And my goal in creating a comprehension-based communicative language classroom, a proficiency-oriented classroom, was to connect with my students through communicative interactions. You can do this with any curricula. However, in Somos, it's a little easier because the project or the learning is designed around connection. But this becomes really important when we're talking about planning our year, because our goal is to teach and connect, not to cover units. There's a big difference. I'm going to say that again. Our goal is not to get through unit 12 or 8 or whatever. It's to connect with our students through communicative interaction. So connection over curriculum. Take a deep breath. Now, if you're already asking questions, that's awesome, but I want you to hold on because we're getting to some content. I haven't told you anything to ask questions about, so relax. I'm happy that you're here, and I'm so happy that you're curious. Our next big mindset goes along with connection, and that is communication. Show me communication. Communication over language targets. Communication over language targets. What this means for us is that our goal is communication. It is not students will be able to accurately use the forms of Sarah and a star in first and third person present tense. I'm going to specifically use examples from Spanish because we're talking about the Somos curriculum, but in French, it would be, we're going to accurately use avoir, all of the avoir, okay? That's not our goal anymore. That's a language target. Students will practice the days of the week. That's a language target. Students will be able to correctly use gender, la silla, the chair. That's a language target. Our goal is communication. So communication is more important than language targets. Connection is more important than curriculum. And our third mindset that's so important, and the one that's most dear to my heart, is this one: interaction. Show me interaction. Over explicit instruction. Interaction over explicit instruction. Now, there is a wide body of research that shows that explicit instruction does not help students build fluency. It does not help students communicate, and it is rarely done in the target language. So our goal, show me interaction, is interaction over explicit instruction. And that is what you are going to see in the Somos curriculum. So take a moment. We have three mindsets: connection over curriculum, communication over language targets, and interaction over explicit instruction, along with all students are capable of acquiring language. I'm going to unlock the chat, and I'm going to invite you to type the answer to your question. You don't know what the question is yet, but you're not going to send it. You're not going to press enter until I say the word waterfall. Okay? Until I say the word waterfall. Are you ready? So here's the question. I'm going to unlock the chat, but don't send it. So the question is, which mindset most resonates with you and why? Another question, you can choose which one you want, is which mindset do you want to most keep in mind for the next school year and why? I'm going to give you about 30 seconds to think about this. Waterfall. Nice. All right. Now, I see a lot of you, and this is totally up to you, typing the mindset, but I think the more important question is, why is this important to you? So if you'd like to add the why, I'm going to give you another 30 or 40 seconds to do so, because I think that why is so important. All right, I'm going to close the chat in 10 seconds. All right. Now, I want to be really clear that I'm not asking for your why do you teach? I'm asking for your why is this mindset important to you to keep in mind? If you would like to learn more about teaching and planning specifically with Somos, if you want a deeper dive, we do have some professional learning resources for you. We have virtual options. We have in-person options. We have free options. So we have free mentor events. This is free. I'll be doing 2 more of these over the summer. And we have our summer shift. You can find all of that information at this bit.ly that is in the chat. So if you're interested in that, you should be able to get more information. All right, let's get down to the meat. But before we do, we're going to do a quick brain break. I got this at Target, you guys. Now's a really good time to go to Target. I don't love Target, but I do love the teacher freebies. So this is my spinny wheel to decide what brain break we're going to do. And we are going to do infinite thumbs. This is something that I learned from California teacher Alina Filipescu. She's amazing. And what you're going to do, if you are able or comfortable, is you're going to interlace your fingers, lock your thumbs, point them to one side or the other, and make an infinity symbol. That's an 8, a figure 8 that's sideways, and just stretch it. Take some deep breaths. Take a little one. Take a big one. Take whatever size you want. Do you feel that in your shoulders? Isn't that nice? All right. And shake it out. Here we go. This is what I'm going to specifically address. Where do I begin? How many units do I teach and which ones? And what about all the other resources? With that in mind, if you go to this bit.ly, and to use a bit.ly, you just type in like a Chrome browser or a Firefox or a Safari, bit.ly/welcome to Somos, capital letters count, or you can just click here. I'm going to put it in the chat again. This will take you to all of the resources that I'm going to talk about, so you know where to find them. All right. So if you didn't know, just some real basic information. The Somos curriculum has 3 programs. The first one is the Vamos curriculum. It is a beginner curriculum. It is great for exploratory. It is great for middle school, especially if your high school already uses the Somos curriculum. So it's the solution for teachers who found that middle school teachers who found that the high school teachers are already using Somos. And they're like, so what do we do? It's great if you've got 1 year or even 1 semester, those kind of exploratory, like 1 term they take French and 1 term they take Mandarin. It's great for that because it isn't a colors and numbers curriculum. It's real communication and it's really fun. Then we have the Somos curriculum. Somos 1 is a novice curriculum. Somos 1 is not. Everyone show me not. Somos 1 is not the same as Spanish 1. It was not ever written to be taught in 1 year. All right. So Somos 1 is often taught in Spanish 1, 2, and sometimes parts of it in 3, in Spanish 1A, in Spanish 1B, 6th, 7th, 8th grade. Those are all appropriate places to use Somos 1. Somos 2 is an intermediate curriculum. Okay. Over Somos 1 and Somos 2, you have at least 3 years of curricula, maybe 4. But what if you finish Somos 2 Or you want something else? Well, luckily we have a pre-AP and AP solution. That is the Huellas curriculum. It is written by Carrie Toth. It is, oh, you know what? I forgot to spotlight myself. Let me do that for you. It is an intermediate curriculum. It is a post Somos solution. So it was written because Carrie Toth wanted something to do with her kids that was similar to Somos, but followed after. There is a Huellas 1 and a Huellas 2, and that is 2 more years of curriculum. It's fantastic. All right. So every unit in the Vamos and Somos curriculum has content maps. You can get these by going to that Welcome to Somos resource. These curriculum maps are really helpful if, say, you need to figure out how many days everything is. But I have a secret for you. Some people might already know this, but when I say I have a secret, I want you all to lean in like it is the most interesting thing you've ever heard. I have a secret. Ooh, very nice, Francois. Thank you. Very nice, Jody. What Martina Betts, the writer, the primary author of the Comprehensible Classroom Somos Curricula, says is 4 days. For the rest of us humans is like twice that. Okay? So take all of these with a grain of salt. All of these with a grain of salt. It's also useful to know in the content map if you or your district has bought the Somos curriculum, like the entire thing. Everything in blue is considered the Somos curriculum. There are other supplemental things that either your district has bought or that you can buy, or you can ignore altogether. Because if you include all the supplements, that's like 7 years of curriculum. It's a lot. Okay? So these content maps are available to help us see what is there. So in Somos 1 Unit 1, this is the core vocabulary. These are our cultural connections. Here is a summative performance assessment. Guess what? There's no summative assessment in Unit 1 because it's 4 days long. They can't do anything. I have a confession to make. When I first started teaching this, I designed a speaking assessment for Unit 1 after 4 days of instruction. That's less than 4 hours. Guess what? My kids bombed it because they'd only had 4 hours of instruction. That's why there is no summative assessment in Unit 1. So again, 4 days, about 50-minute class periods, but not everybody teaches 50-minute class periods. You have the opportunity to make instructional decisions for yourself. If you teach on block, it might be 3 days. It might be 6 days. For me, Unit 1 tended to last about 7 to 8 hours of instruction because my goal was connection. My goal was interaction. My goal was communication. Okay? That's why those mindsets are so important. So where should you start? Well, it depends. Have your students had any language before? Are they totally brand new? What grade do you teach? I have written a significant article. You can get it again from this resource. I've collaborated with many teachers to come up with some recommendations. So this includes, I teach elementary, what should I do? Well, maybe Vamos, it depends. I teach middle school and I don't know what they use in the high school. You could use Vamos or Somos. I teach level 2 and half of my kids had Somos last year. Where do I start? I have an article for that. I'm not going to detail it. I'm going to invite you to explore the resources and think about what makes sense for you with our core mindsets in mind. I do want to remind you that Somos 2 is not Spanish 2. And many students, especially if they come from programs that aren't comprehension based, may not be ready for Somos 2 at a level 3 class yet. Now, how many units should I teach? Well, how many contact hours do you have? How much time do you spend on, I don't know, doing your bell ringers? Do you spend 1 minute or do you spend 10 minutes? Do you do free voluntary reading with your upper levels? So, again, I can't necessarily answer that, but I can give you some ideas. For me, the more experienced I got with the curriculum, the fewer units that I taught. So I averaged about 6 units per year with a bunch of other stuff. My first year, I averaged 12 units because I was not focused on communication and connection. Okay. So, how many units should you teach? It's up to you. And I'm going to show you. So, in this resource, there are a couple of different planning and pacing guides and a few different scenarios from different teachers. So there's a table, like I teach 4 days a week for 45 minutes, and I usually do 7 or 8 units. Again, you are going to have to figure this out for yourself because we can't tell you. You're the expert, and you may want to teach 2 weeks about a certain holiday or Hispanic Heritage Month. That's going to change how many units you get through. So you have the great opportunity to make those instructional decisions. For guidance, we have written an article with a lot of different scenarios. Can I skip units? It depends. So what a lot of teachers, and myself included, find is that if you teach about units 1 through 8 sequentially, then you can skip units. Some teachers skip unit 6 altogether, but that's one of my favorites, so I don't, in Somos 1. I think that after about unit 8 in Somos 1, you can skip around. You just have to be mindful because all of the core vocabulary spirals. So it comes up again and again and again. It depends. One of the things that I found was with my students in Spanish 1B, Spanish honors, Spanish 2 honors, and Spanish 2, I was able to ask them things like, what topics are you most interested in? And I'd give them 3 topics after we did units 1 through 8. I got those topics from the content map. So the content map has core vocabulary and it has the cultural connection. So I used that content to say, would you be more interested in learning about sports in South American countries or food or something else? And my kids would vote. And that's how we would decide what units to teach. That worked really well for me. It may not work for you, but you might want to try it because it's pretty cool. It's a great way to give them choice. Again, that's after teaching Somos 1, units 1 through 8. Remember, our goal is not to get through unit 8 or get through unit 12. Our goal is connection. Okay? Because when we connect with our students, it doesn't matter what curriculum we use. When we connect with our students and we are truly communicating with them, the content that we use is likely to be relevant to them. Take a deep breath. What about all the other stuff? Teaching about Ramadan, teaching about Hanukkah, Las Posadas. What about using Garbanzo or El Mundo en tus manos? What about grammar? What about Dia de los Muertos? What about all of the meses, all of the months? Well, that's a great question. And again, it's totally up to you. I taught for a long time in a school that was Jewish. So guess what? We did a lot about Hanukkah and we didn't do any of these things. We did learn about Ramadan. The first year I taught, I didn't do anything extra because it was too much. I actually couldn't do it. The second year, I added one thing. The third year, I started to feel more comfortable and I added more. So how do you get all these resources? Again, you can go to that Somos bit.ly. It's right there. And you've got curriculum maps. You literally just click where it says curriculum maps. That will take you to the curriculum maps for everything, including Nous Sommes, which is our French curriculum. Scope and sequence, or how many units? There are a couple of different articles in our planning and pacing. What unit should I start on? You just click right there, and it will walk you through some scenarios. Honestly, if you're just starting the Somos curriculum, I encourage you to start with Somos 1, Unit 1. Your upper level or your Spanish 2 classes, they're not always the same thing by any stretch. Your other classes will move faster. You might find that you want to skip some things, but starting everybody in the same place reduces the load for you if you are new to Somos. If you are teaching, say, a level 3, there's a few different things to consider. Have they come from a comprehension-based class? How much language do they have? And I have to remind everyone that I have never met a teacher who doesn't overestimate how much language their students have, which leads to a lack of connection because students are frustrated. All right, take a deep breath. I'm going to ask you 2 questions. You do not have to respond. I just want you to think about it. Do you, yes or no, know where to find these resources that I've mentioned? Do you know where to find these resources that I've mentioned? Number 2, what's the most important mindset for you? Oh, Jody, I see. I see. All right. I'm going to share with you what my scope and sequence looked like for one class. Be prepared because it's not very technical. It's literally a list of the units and the things I was going to do. So this is my at a glance curriculum. This is all I was required to do for my department for a couple of years. Then it got more complicated. But I just made a list. So this is for my, this is what we called Spanish 2 honors. And so I did a little intro unit where we made a story using vocabulary, core vocabulary from the years before, from their other classes. We did free voluntary reading all year long. I included that in my scope and sequence. Then we did Somos 1, Unit 21. But we started writing the stories in the past tense because we'd already had quite a lot of past tense in Spanish 1 honors. So I was just very careful to note that so I wouldn't forget. We did a Senor Woolley that went along with Unit 21. Then we jumped back to Unit 14. The reason I started with Unit 21 in this context was that I was at a school where the students all went camping. So Unit 21 is about camping, and I wanted to do some thematic connection, right? If we hadn't done that, I probably would have just started at Unit 14 to build on the rest of my year. Then around winter holiday time, this they'd already learned about Hanukkah, so we did El Sorteo, which is the loteria in Spain, which happens around the winter holidays. We did a Senor Woolley song because I had all these special events. So I had kids out of class for like 2 weeks. I would have, 4 kids in class, then I'd have 20. It was ridiculous. Then we did units 15 and 17. Then we did a novel. Then I moved to Somos 2 because at that point I felt like they were ready. Okay. Now, this is all you need to do to keep a list. I strongly recommend that you take the time to do this summer. And this is why. How many of you spend a lot of time on social media scrolling through new ideas? How about finding new activities and new resources? How many of you have a Google Drive or digital files that are like overloaded, maybe even bloated with things that you can't find and probably will never use? Okay. So, and then when you actually go to teach something, you feel overwhelmed. When we have a very simple list, it helps us with resource overwhelm. And it helps us with what I call squirrel planning, which is the night before you look on 3 different blogs to come up with a 10-minute activity. You guys, our time is too important for that. We do not need to be doing that. And in fact, the Somos curriculum, all of the things in the Somos curriculum are complete. You don't necessarily need to go find more resources. You may, of course, because you are the expert and you know what is expected of you, what's expected of your kids. Okay. My goal is to help you with these resources, reduce resource overwhelm, and reduce squirrel planning. The easiest way to do that I've found is to just make a list of what you're going to teach for the whole year. That's it. And then every time something new comes down the social media pipeline, look at your list and say, does that fit? Does that make sense? Or is that just another shiny idea and makes me feel like I'm totally overwhelmed and want to cry? Okay. Teaching is hard, but having a good curriculum and a plan for what to teach makes it a lot easier. All right, so take a moment and we're going to do a waterfall, but I didn't type up the question. So I'm just going to tell you the question and put it in the chat. So the question is, what is the most important thing I've said so far that you want to keep in mind? So what is the most important thing that you've heard so far that you want to keep in mind? Go ahead and you can start typing in the chat. But wait till I say waterfall. It's okay. I know you guys are so excited and I love that you're sharing your learning. Waterfall. Oh, Miss Marcy, it's not working. It was working earlier for me. Try this. Yeah, you have to capitalize it. Oh, wow, this is so much learning. Look at you guys. All right. So I am going to jump over. We have just a few minutes. And like I said at the beginning, I am not going to be able to answer everybody's questions. And in fact, I'm going to go ahead and turn off the chat again because it's distracting for everyone. And if we put the questions in the teacher talk doc, that helps me. If I don't answer the questions, it helps me know what other events like this to plan for. So I see a question about block. So if you are on a block schedule, raise your hand. Okay, here's something really important to know about block. You probably already know it, but I'm just going to verify your gut feeling. That is, if you have 90 minutes of block, you know that students are not learning for all 90 of those minutes. If you get 75, you are in great shape. Okay? Because more is not always better. Students have limited attention spans, also in 2025, but it's hard to focus for that long. Have you ever been in a 90-minute class? This is only 45 minutes. We're going to be done in a couple. So don't assume that you can do 2 days of lesson plans in one block. I think that's unrealistic. I think it will go too fast. And remember, our goal is connection over curriculum. It is not to try and teach all the lessons. Okay. So you're going to have to figure out what kinds of things what is going to take longer. And if things take longer, let them. That's okay. If things totally fail, move on. Cut your losses and move on. Okay. So if you teach level 3, if you go to the bit.ly and look at where do I start, that I just popped it in the chat as well. That has suggestions for, I have level 3 kids, where do I start them? And some really specific questions to ask yourself. I see a question about assessment. Not going to answer it, but I will put a blog post in about performance versus proficiency. I'm not going to address anything about rigor or expectations because our topic is planning our year with the Somos curriculum. And I understand if you've got these resources, it's a lot to read, but that's what happens. I mean, honestly, I'll be truthful. In a perfect world, your admin would, your instructional leaders would help you decide and make those instructional decisions like, hey, level 1 teaches, like, might teach these units. Level 2 might teach these units. But if you do not have that kind of support from your instructional leaders, you are going to have to read it all. I know it's a lot, and I wish you got paid for it. You should. Yeah. So a question about what I include in my teaching list. I actually include all of the things that I'm going to teach about. So all of the Somos units. So these are the specific units. And I did this also so that the other teacher wouldn't, like the Spanish 3 teacher knew that these were the units I was teaching, right? And so that the Spanish 1 teacher knew not to do unit 14, right? Like this was a communication tool, but it was just really simple. We divided up what senior woolly pieces we wanted, and anything else that we wanted. Yep, I will repost those links. And that's it, you guys. We are out of time. So if you would like to keep learning, we would love for you to keep learning with us. We have a lot of free and paid options. We have fantastic facilitators and mentors, and I am so thankful for you. I am going to end, and I'm actually going to let you unmute if you'd like. I'm going to say thank you for learning. You reply, thank you for teaching us. I learned this from Bryce Hedstrom, and our session is over. Get ready. Gracias por aprender.
Gracias por enseñarnos.
Thank you so much. For on-topic questions, I will come back and add some links to this. Thank you so, so much, and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Bye.
Bye.
Gracias.
Muchas gracias.